Hello, this is Lucas Wilkes again. This will be my second project video presentation. Now, just to kind of dive right into it. So, instructional design, it helps educators plan with purpose and clarity. And with that said, today's focus is going to be on two specific instructional design frameworks, the Wiggins and McTee's Understanding by Design framework, and then also the Bloom's Taxonomy of Learning Levels. Then also later in this presentation, I'm going to be applying both of these frameworks in my project to a teaching scenario. Now, both frameworks promote intentional, outcome-focused teaching, and these models also help shift from what to teach to what learners should understand and be able to do. All right. So I'll start with the UbD framework. So the first stage of UbD is to identify desired results. And really, what that first stage asks is what should learners understand, what should learners know, and also be able to do. It really focuses on enduring understandings and essential questions. So, for example, in a science unit on ecosystems, desired results might include understanding interdependence among organisms. This specific stage aligns with long term transfer goals, not just short term recall. It also encourages thinking about big ideas that last beyond the classroom, not just in the classroom. So then we have our second stage, determine acceptable evidence. So really what this second stage asks is how will we know if students have achieved the desired results that we want? It focuses on performance tasks and authentic assessments. So for example, students could do a mini ecosystem model and explain how energy flows through it. In this stage, assessment assessment really shouldn't measure in this stage assessment should measure understanding, not just memorization. So not just memorization, but more so understanding. um, Using both formative and summative assessments would be ideal to achieve this goal. So we talked about the first two stages, results and evidence. Now stage three is to plan learning experiences and instruction. So when we get to the third stage, it asks us what learning experiences will help students achieve their goals. Here, one would plan lessons, plan activities, and other resources that align with the desired results and assessments. So, for example, with this stage, this could be conducting experiments, analyzing food chains, and reflecting on environmental impact. Now, just to kind of quickly emphasize something, activities should directly support the learning goals. The activities that you do need to directly support the learning goals. So, this stage is really where creativity and engagement of learners come into play. All right, so now we'll shift to Bloom's taxonomy. So, this was developed by Benjamin Bloom to classify levels of cognitive learning. Now, there are six levels to that: remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. These steps move from basic recall of information to higher order thinking. And it's also important to help teachers design objectives and assessments that promote deeper learning amongst their learners. So just kind of like before, I'm going to break down Bloom's taxonomy levels with science examples. Um, so to start, remembering. This could include recalling facts like listing the parts of a plant. Understand. This is where one could explain ideas like describing how photosynthesis can work or how photosynthesis works. Then we have apply, which is to use knowledge in new situations. So, for example, this could be predicting plant growth under different conditions. Um, then we have analyze, where we could break down information. So, an example of breaking down information could be something like comparing plants and animal cells. Now, just really quick, when teachers are using Bloom's taxonomy, when they're writing their learning objectives, it's really important and very beneficial to use these verbs from Bloom's taxonomy when writing these learning objectives. So then we come to the next step, which is to evaluate, where some could make judgments. So, for example, assessing the impact of deforestation. Then we have create, where someone could produce new work. So, for example, designing a sustainable garden plan. Now, each level in Bloom's taxonomy slowly builds onto the next one, and that's very important for its success. All right. So now what I'm going to do is apply backwards design and Bloom's taxonomy. And for this, I'm going to use a science teaching task. Very specifically, I'm going to talk about a middle school environmental science project on sustainability. So stage one, identify desired results. So here, students will need to understand human impact on the world's ecosystems. Stage two, use evidence. So students would create a sustainability proposal for their school, which would then lead into stage three, a learning plan, research group discussions, and presentations. Then, as a teacher, I could create my learning objectives using Bloom's taxonomy. So, what I would want students to be able to understand is to be able to explain how human actions affect ecosystems. And then, what I want students to be able to apply for my learning objectives would be to use data to propose sustainable solutions. All right, so really to kind of sum everything up from this presentation, universal backward design and Bloom's taxonomy, both of these frameworks really do a great job complementing each other. Universal backward design kind of gives more structure, while Bloom's taxonomy sort of gives educators more depth with their learning. Both frameworks are really good at promoting purposeful, learner-centered instruction rather than teacher-centered, learner-centered instruction. And really effective teaching starts with the end in mind and builds toward meaningful understandings. So remember, it's important, especially when it comes to teaching, to teach for understanding, not just coverage. Thank you.